ser assim. Oxe. Rapaz, eles são generosos, hein? Ah! Carta de conjunto. Oxi. Oxi, que cartas são essas, mano? Mago do pulso do dragão. Oxi. Servos Corocobac. Olha. Não é muito bom, não. Não falta. Nossa, da coisa estelar. Guisques e Ligas. Vampira cidadã. Lologias. É bom. Poxa. Eu não joguei ontem, acho. Eita. Ah, essa mesmo. Estou assim pra caramba. Save the pig the game.
X-Men 97 Jean Grey, and in this corner, the Marvel Legends X-Men 97 Madeline Pryor, also known as the Goblin Queen. Genetically, both of them are technically Jean Grey, but which one is the better action figure? Place your bets and stick around, it's time for another Versus. Starting with the packaging, and once again we're back for X-Men 97 blister cards. Recall what I said in my Magneto video about how heroes and villains square up in artwork, and notice how these two are placed. Already from the artwork we can see that there's going to be some minor tweaks to Jean's design. As for how much the figure looks like that, it's going to be a discussion for the next category. But so far I'm pretty excited for Goblin Queen. Obviously it's a departure from the comic, but I do like the artwork and this design. Flipping it around though, and this time they're both facing the same direction. Of the other figures in the wave, we've already looked at Magneto and Cyclops, and honestly, having looked at these cards so many times, I don't really know what else to say. For packaging, this round is a draw. Moving on to presentation, Jean Grey comes to just under 6 inches, whereas the high heel wearing Goblin Queen hovers around 6.5. Goblin Queen's arms might be reused, but otherwise these are two newly sculpted figures. Let's start with Jean. Comparing her to the 80 years version, we can see she's a bit shorter and that the costume has been streamlined. The center stripe no longer goes all the way down the bodysuit, the belt is a bit wider, and the side pads are swapped out with the basic seam lines. Otherwise, the costume does maintain its blue and yellow color scheme. From an engineering standpoint, though, I'm most curious about the torso. Instead of having any kind of a diaphragm joint or an ab crunch, it's just one solid piece, so it's going to be interesting to pit her against Madeline during posability. Like most Lady Legends, she has diaphragm. The thing I have most mixed feelings about, however, is her head. I'm not saying she's ugly, but her face is definitely different than the card. If I like the other head better. I'll also point out that the hair is a lot less detailed than Magneto's was. Compared to the previous figures we've looked at, which could slide into your comic shelf, this one is definitely more cartoony and simplistic. In that regard, the Goblin Queen has a lot more going on. Though, in fairness, her hair is pretty cartoony also. They did do a good job of capturing that lividity pink corpse color that she has on the card art, and in general, they did a great job of capturing her mischievousness. The costume is obviously a huge departure from the comics, but let's be honest, there was no way this was going to make it into what's essentially a Saturday morning cartoon or onto a target film. It's worth noting that they did offer the Goblin Queen as a tier to trick us into buying that Engine of Vengeance HasLab, and even that wasn't comic fashion. There was no open site for that figure to be released. This is all we've really got for now. Interestingly enough, the upper leg is covered in the action figure, so it's not covered on the cartoon. Concept art was different when they made the action figure, but the figure does match the card art. The machine is good and basic, with lots of simple, clean lines, but too basic. For presentation, this round goes to Goblin Queen. Moving on to posability, and the articulation between these two is mostly the same, but with a couple of notable differences. From the top, that both heads are on dumbbell joints. Goblin Queen, of course, has that long, wild hair, so you know what that means. She can't look up, but her more practical ponytail has no trouble. But surprisingly, neither one of them can really look down. Goblin Queen also struggles to tilt her head, whereas Jean has no trouble on that department. Goblin can look side to side, but Jean gets all the way around. Additionally, her ponytail is posable. It also pops out really easy though, so watch out for that. But they can raise their arms this high with Goblin Queen having better range. It's worth noting that the shoulder pads are nice and soft, so they're not getting in the way. Neither one has any kind of butterfly joints. They both have biceps. And as is typical for Marvel Legends, at the end of the arms are wrists that can swivel and hinge. Hinging that hand does, however, turn her palm blue. Shifting the torso, and this is the biggest difference between the two. As I said, in presentation, Madeline has a typical diaphragm joint, whereas all of Jean's torso articulation is a ball joint in her waist. They're fairly equivalent, although I do think Jean has a slight edge. One thing I should point out is the weight of the only the torso back. Otherwise, they punch forward this far, and Jean clearly has the edge. We can, however, both tilt and twist. It's interesting because going into this review, I was pretty skeptical of Jean's lack of diaphragm joint, but it turns out that this blade was more functional and better for maintaining the line of the figure. Obviously, a combination of all that is the better range, or lower diaphragm joint and reverse ab crunch like this Black Widow, I'm happy. Moving on down, and both ladies have ball jointed hips. They've got equivalent kicks as well as equivalent spreads. Traveling down the leg, and both of them have thigh cut, but Hasbro actually made the one on Goblin Queen lowered down the leg so as not to interfere with the boot. That was a nice touch, and I really appreciate it. Both of them have pinless knees, which are pretty even Steven. Missed opportunity here to give Jane a boot cut, but both have ankles and like Madeline Pryor, from good to bad to good again. Pivot. I'll admit that I'm surprised, but for posability, this round goes to Green. Out of the box, Jane has a fist and melting hit, and also a set of really open jeans. Goblin Queen, by contrast, comes preloaded with really open jeans, but she also has a pair of fists and some spooky green energy effects. Otherwise, the only thing Jean comes with is this alternate head, which I'd have to admit I do like better, but it still doesn't look quite like the artwork. Also, now that she has long hair, it's Jean's turn to not have very good neck articulation. Madeline does have one more accessory up her sleeve, though. Baby Nathan Santo. Not the mama. For a newborn, that kid has a lot of hair. He's really adorable, though, but for whatever reason, his costume is covered with plus signs that, well, this swaddling is reused from Baby Hulk and Baby Nightcrawler, but playability is more than just babies and swappable parts. It's also about how well your figure is others. First things first, Professor X gets a nice little cameo in the episode, flashing back to when he was pretty cheap. So here he is, but shifting over to a few other X-Men 97 figures we've looked at. Here we have the Red version of Magneto. Real quick, by the way, I need to make a correction to my Magneto video. I incorrectly stated that I thought he was built off of the Sunfire body. In reality, he was built off of Vulcan. A few of you pointed out in the comments, but you were all very nice about it, so thank you all around. Next up is the villainous version of Magneto, and then here we have Cyclops. In the Inferno comics, Cyclops was in his X-Factor phase, so here's that version. And then for Wolverine, here's the X-Men 97 version of him, and the Inferno era brown and orange. Until we get to the X-Men 97 version, here's the retro card version of Rose, and the 80s appropriate swipe to the oldies version. Rounding out the team is Remy LeBeau, who definitely had his share of bad experiences in the new episode. Don't worry, Gumbo, I can't unsee it either. I'll stop the world and melt with you. So at the end of the episode, rocking her 80s style punk rock costume. And then here we have Jubilee, a beast, who in this episode gave us one of his classic, oh my, stars and bars. Other X-Men were part of the Inferno comic story, and here we have Dazzler, Longshot, her Mojo World companion, Cyclops' brother Havoc, Iceman, one of the founding members of the X-Men, Archangel, who'd only recently been transformed in the comics by Apocalypse, and Colossus. Colossus brings us to his sister Ileana, also known as Magic, who not only had a big role to play in Inferno, but made a cameo in the episode thanks to Morph. Morph also briefly turned into Spiral. For a fun deep cut reference, here we have Demo Goblin, who was created during the Inferno story, but for the architect of Inferno and the big bad of the episode, here we have Mr. Sinister. For a relative scale comparison, here's Jean and Madeline, meet Spidey and the spectacular Spider-Man, and as always, here they are with Stealth Iron Man. Jean is a great and important addition to your team, and I do appreciate the alternate head, but Madeline has alternate hands, energy effects, and a completely separate character, while also being a character we don't have a 6-inch scale version of in any other form. Playability, this round also goes to the Goblin Queen. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. Both figures retail for $24.99, come with similar discount, but now there's Goblin Queen have more accessories. One of them is Baby Case. That Baby Case trade figures are notoriously expensive on the aftermarket, so if you want one in your collection, this is the most affordable option. On the other hand, this is the only 6-inch scale Goblin Queen ever made, thanks to the comic version being used as HasLab bait. For price, this round is a draw, but the battle goes to Goblin Queen 4-3. What did you think of the latest episode, and do you think we'll see Madeline Pryor again? Sound off in the comments, and while you're down there, tell me your favorite Jean Grey costume. Of course, now that we look at this one, it does make the question, which is the best 90s Jean Grey ever made. That, however, is a conversation for another day. If you like this video, check out one of these. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.
Man, X-Man87 here, bringing Day, Friday, 29/2024. Wow, that's so exhausted. I couldn't say it. Let's try that again. Tonight, Friday, 29th of March, 2024. Go down in history as the end of RPG overload. Okay, tonight, I was so exhausted. I didn't really know how to I was too tired. I'm enough with this game. I don't want to talk about it anymore. So I had like a half an hour, 40-minute chill session with my audience instead, where I answered random questions. So all that will be live tonight on the channel. Officially, we start coming out of this tunnel and doing a variety of games again, which is what I'm best at, because I've known before, which is what I did. So let's do it, alright? Everyone who was on this crazy ride, 4 months of Baldur's Gate 3, 2 months of Let's without reading, it's time to ride very positively to the future. So what is that future? For the of Elden Ring, for a couple of you bitching about this, and you're bitching, and I've had enough. I've had enough. I'm not going to have anyone bitching about Final Fantasy 7 at all. Zero. Every complaint I get about it, I'm going to say, shut up, because I'm not killing my business over this. And if you say it another time, I'm going to ban you, because I've just had enough of this entitlement. Oh, I just want nothing else, and I'm going to sit here and watch you complain about it. I just told you the rationale of why we're not doing it. Respect that. No, I don't need anything. Shut the fuck up, man. Shut the fuck up. I'm literally just at my channel dying for fucking months. I'm not going to get this. Alright? I understand well. Podcast discussing everything I think about this game today. Then here in the dark. We have actually heard it. It's installing right now. Installation. Yes, we're doing Alone in the Dark on the first stream, and there's 2 reasons why. Number 1, it's a new game that I'm playing, and I will always like to play new games on a main stream if I can. We have a little bit of extra time to get a little further into it, get just what this game is. 2, if I truly have something out of RPG, tomorrow night's stream at 6:45 time. I can talk with you continuing on. Sunday will then be my React day where I do all reacting, clip show on ESP React, review of Retro React Police Scholarship Edition on ESP Throwback. And Monday, we'll play the same 2 games again, but the question is, do we flip the order? Do we do Dragon Talk on the day stream and Alone in the Dark on the night stream, or do we keep Alone in the Dark on the day stream? I think it's really going to depend on the reception of the game and how people like it. Keep in mind, Blade is like an old school survival horror game. A lot of people like regular reviews. Oh, it's complicated, and it has puzzles. Like, yeah, it's the old fucking games. That's how they all work. And for those who actually like old school horror games, they said they really like this game. And a lot of people who've seen people play it said, wow, the kind of game that's up Phil's alley that would be entertaining to watch and play. It doesn't have to be game of the year, but it's an entertaining watch. And right now, this channel needs a return of variety, entertainment, not the same. So I'm happy tomorrow's Now keep in mind, whenever I coming up, I am going to try the Battlefront collection again, the Star Wars Classic collection, that is. Probably, a night coming up this week, not sure when. I want to see if they fixed it. I believe they have. I bought the game, I played it once, was dying to play it. It worked. Hopefully it works this time. That'll be some good variety for this multiplayer. And I can co-op the option sold with my wife. Maybe starting this week here Wednesday night. We're just not sure yet. I'll let you know when we have more info on it. So there is good variety coming. And another spin here is that Elden Ring is going to come back to this rather than later. Probably the first couple of weeks of April. We can get that going again. Prepare for the DLC in June. And my birthday bash marathon is on Saturday the 6th. So we got good stuff coming up, alright guys? So I want to see patience, especially if you're someone who likes my content, who likes my channel. You've just been having a rough time for the last couple of months, or it's just non-stop RPGs, and I can't take it. First, also patience, like gradually. Right? That's why we're not doing anything. RPG is done. Like one RPG at a time. That's how we're going to have it for a while. Alright guys? Thank you so very much. Have a good night. See you tomorrow for Alone in the Dark. It's Dragon's Talk with you. Peace out.
Anúncios grátis na OLX. A cada 2 minutos, 5 carros são vendidos. Grátis para anunciar.
How it goes. Okay, let's see how it goes Sunday night. Then on Monday, we're back to gameplay. And basically, it's going to be the same 2 games as today. But the thing is, we have to decide. Right? We have to decide which one we want to the dark, get your end, or do we want Dragon's Talk on the Nation production? We have to think about that. I guess really it'll depend on how dark we see today. Today, playing game. We know this game. But if it ends up not doing so well, right? We'll see. Okay. And by the way, for those who are contributing, thank you. I can shout out to the end of the podcast, and I will get all the messages and questions. It's going to be good shit. Okay, so that's Monday. Tuesday is kind of a up in the air deal because at some point I'm going to begin my talk later with my wife Kat, Beyond the Soul, but we're not solidified yet on when it's going to be. It might be this week on like Tuesday or Wednesday night. It might not be. So it's a maybe. Okay, what I can tell you is I am going to continue to play Alone in the Dark. Dragon's Talk this week. Another thing that I want to do this week, I want to play night games. I want to play the Battlefront collection, the Star Wars Battlefront Classic collection that came out weeks ago. When it came out, it was crap. It was not working at all. The game development studio has patched the game multiple times, and apparently it works really well now. So I want to play it, and I bought it. I was supposed to have it as variety multiplayer on the streams, and it didn't work at launch. It was a joke. So I want to play it on one of these night streams, and hopefully it works and it'll be entertaining, It's not very entertaining to watch me running around shooting things and then it never hits directly in front of me. It's stupid. No point playing, right? So, let's see how that goes. Wants to do a second super chat and it's glitching until he can't do it. What's weird though is that Phil was able to do 2 super chats this morning, so I'm not sure why I would say that, DNA. He says he super chatted and he wants to super chat again, and it says you already own this item as if he bought something, like he bought an item he owns now. What? Yeah, I don't know. That definitely sounds like a glitch. Maybe try refreshing, try another browser, try another device. Try another dimension? I don't know. That sounds like a weird YouTube coding glitch, right? Okay, so that's the schedule, folks. Now, I think it's time for us to finish up my thoughts on both of the RPGs that I've been playing for months and months with our body. Alright? First of all, let's talk about Like Dragon Infinite Wealth, which is the first game that I finished yesterday. Alright? Locked in at officially 63 parts. However, the last 1 to 2 weeks, I've been playing longer than hour-long parts So I've been pushing to try to finish the game. Even though it says 63, it's likely more like 66, 67 hours of gameplay or more. You know, I knew it was going to be around 70, 80 hours, but I did kind of turbo to the end of it and not do a lot of side content because we had to finish the game. So, what do I think about Like a Dragon Infinite Well? My final thoughts on the game, alright? Here's the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good. The fact that the game improves upon many things from Like a Dragon, the previous Like a Dragon, which is Yakuza Like a Dragon or Yakuza 7. For example, the combat is much improved. Now you have this positional awareness, more healing, more area effect attacks, more directional attacks. For example, if you hit an enemy with a regular melee attack and you push them into another enemy, a combo of them falling over and taking additional damage, or positioning yourself so you can knock an enemy into your teammate and your teammate will do a combo for you, which is awesome when that happens because there's additional damage and you can set all kinds of fun stuff up like that in the game, and that was not present in the original. It adds a whole new element to turn-based combat that hasn't been present, so it was really fun. The open world doubling up, and what I mean by that is you have Hawaii, but you also have Japan. It's not just the same exact maps that you've seen in every Yakuza game or the recent Judgment series painted. It's also a brand new map in Hawaii, and it's a big map, and there's a lot to do. Multiple malls, shopping centers, restaurants, the beach, all kinds of stuff, residential areas as well. And it was very entertaining to do that, to go to Hawaii. You feel like you're on a vacation almost. It's funny because my wife's like, oh, I want to go to Hawaii now. Well, it would be great if we could, but, you know, not right now. But anyway, yeah, like, it was great to have that. So, 2 maps instead of 1. It's combat. I would argue the graphics are better. Of course, it's a generation jump. Like, the last game was on the last-gen consoles, and this one's on, obviously, the current gen, so it's going to run a little better no matter what. And the sheer amount of content. There is way more content in Like a Dragon Infinite Well than in the previous Like a Dragon. Just insane amounts of side content. It's because there's 2 protagonists. If it was just Kazuma, Kiryu, or just Ichiban Kasuga, that would have been fine. But having 2 protagonists doubled up the amount of content. So now you have different storylines, different teams of fighters that you're leveling up, and going back and forth between different side content. You know, the more traditional Yakuza side content was for Kasuga, but then there was different kinds of reminiscent stuff. The plotline of Kiryu, basically, in a nutshell, everyone knows this at this point. Kiryu was diagnosed with cancer, and so his plot is basically kind of like his bucket list last hurrah to do things to reminisce about his life and what he's done to make amends for things he's done wrong. He's kind of has a multi-part plotline going on. So it's very different from the last game, which was very, very more not silly. This one still has that kind of bad cap. Kasuga has a lot of serious emotional stuff to hear you. Okay? So it's got everything, right? So that's the good. The bad. I would say the worst part of the game, and this is kind of sad, alright, is the plot. Because there's 2 protagonists, they almost tried to take 2 plots and crush them together, and it doesn't really hold up. For example, there's one whole plot line about a religious group of people who later on are revealed to be like a crime syndicate. Like, what? Huh? Okay. But then on the other side, there's almost like a typical Yakuza plot line of someone who's trying to revive the Yakuza and do all this stuff after the events of the previous Like a Dragon where all the Yakuza were dissolved. These guys are trying to like use up the Yakuza. It's like, what? Like, plots, and then they very almost sloppily try to slap them together and make each other think really, and quite frankly, as you get further and further into the game, the plot makes less sense. Like, I'll give you a key example here. So, there's a criminal organization that essentially has a front where it looks like it's a religion, but it really it's a bunch of criminal organization stuff going on, but the people are kind of brainwashed. It's almost like a cult, right? Well, the plot is, oh, there's a child who has a pendant. And because the child has the pendant, the leadership of this organization is at stake. The child should actually be the true inheritor of the organization. And it's like, what? It's a criminal organization. The reason that people follow the guy in charge is because he's like a criminal ringleader. No one cares if the kid has a fucking pendant. Take the pendant, go in the fucking toilet and flush. No one gives a shit if the kid should be the true leader. They just, you know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense. The only way that would make sense is if this were like in Europe and we were talking about like lines, lineages, bloodlines, and the bloodline should be the true king or queen or monarch or ruler. And there could be an usurping if someone else was found to be of the purest bloodline. That's a little different, you know? We're not talking European medieval politics. We're talking modern day. This quote is basically a criminal organization. So why in the holy hell would anyone care about a kid with a pendant? It doesn't make any sense. And this is like a critical line in the whole game that never really is explained properly in any way, shape, or form. It's just comical. So, it was kind of bad in that regard. So the bad, in my opinion, is the story. Not that it's an awful story, but basically when you finish the game, you feel unfulfilled. Like, both final boss fights kind of feel underwhelming, but you don't get that ultimate climax feeling like you get usually from a Yakuza game. And quite honestly, one of the plot lines just feels like that's kind of stupid. It feels like you were going somewhere at one point, and then it ends up being just like, oh, that was just busy work. And a lot of people are also upset because there's two protagonists, so both protagonists can't fight the true final boss, and only one gets to fight the true final boss, and then the other one kind of gets left high and dry, and people are like, it's kind of lame. The only one protagonist really gets a true ending, right? And I agree there too. You know, that's kind of sad that they weren't together for the finale. That would have probably been better. Originally, they actually were in a party together earlier in the game, and then they never rejoined to have a party together ever again. Okay, so that's the good and the bad. What's the ugly? The ugly is this game has content that just feels tacked on for the sake of having added content, but it really adds absolutely nothing to the game. For example, there's a whole island simulation style minigame called Doko Island that originally was spun as, oh look, it's going to be like going Animal Crossing, but in the style of the world of like a dragon. You're going to have an island build buildings, businesses, you're going to have visitors come, they're going to pay money to visit your island, you're going to try to please them by giving them presents and things, and you're going to do something for your island and things like that. You're like, oh, that sounds like a unique and fun concept to have that in an RPG like this. It's never been done before. And then when you actually play it, you realize there's no point to doing it. All it ever does is gives you a little bit of money, which is good early on in the game to have that extra money, and it's kind of a boost. But all you get for completing it, and it is essentially like a trophy or an achievement, and an ultimate super attack that you never need to use in the game. It's just like overpowered, so you never need it at all. Never at any point does it feel like an organic part of the game. It just feels like a whole tacked on thing. And after you do it for a few hours, it's very boring. At first it's interesting as you're opening up new parts of it, but basically once you get to a certain part of it, you're not going to really be doing anything new. It's just the same loop of, get the resources, build the businesses and buildings, have the people go visit, appease the people when they're visiting, fend off any attackers that show up, wash, rinse, repeat, look at the part of the island, do the same thing, It becomes this boring grind. You're like, why am I doing this? There's literally no point to doing this point, okay? Now, the other part is the Sujimon. Yes, Sujimon sounds like Pokemon for a reason because they wanted to copy Pokemon and have something like that in the game, again, as a side activity. And there's a whole deal where as you're fighting certain enemies after the fight's over, you'll actually recruit the enemy as one of your Sujimon and you use them in the Sujimon League later on in Sujimon battles. You'll find Sujimon raids throughout the open world maps that you can do. There's an entire plot line with the Sujimon League fighting these basically gym leaders and stuff like that. Basically, it sounds fun, right? Except once again, it's totally not needed. It doesn't add anything to the game. The only thing you get at the very end of the game, if you complete the Sujimon League, which takes an average 5 to 8 hours to complete, is a new job for one of your characters, and it's the best job in the game. When it's not needed, it's overpowered. Much like the ultimate attack you get from Doko Island, you get a job you don't need. And so why did I spend 5 to 8 hours doing this? it's a throwaway weird side event that doesn't have any impact on the story, doesn't really help you, why did I do it, right? So I'll tell you, I did half of Doko Island, and I got bored and stopped. I literally never did Sujimon at all. Never once in the playthrough did it ever seem like a time that I should be doing it, or it never even made sense to me. Okay? So I feel like the game has some dramatic improvements over the first, but sadly the plot's not as good because it kind of goes in different directions, and that's not good. It's not focused enough. And it has a lot of really lame tacked on side content that just doesn't feel in place whatsoever. And that's sad. So overall, listen, I like the Dragon Infinite World. I think it's a great game. I had a ton of fun playing it, hanging out with my audience when I played it. But overall, it just feels like kind of a little bit of a step in the wrong direction. I hope that the next one becomes more focused, like they always have been. It doesn't have as much bloated extra content you don't need. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't need to be there. And it's just distracting. If you're going to have content, make it meaningful. Make it mean something. Don't have it there just to have it there. Have it there to attach something that's of value to the game. Not, oh, I just blew 8 hours on something and it didn't matter that I did it. Like, if I'd spent 8 hours on Sujimon, it literally wouldn't have affected the playthrough in any way or help. It just would have just happened. So, who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like, content for the sake of content is not valid content. It's just no value. You have to make content attached to something to be valid. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, maybe if you complete the Sujimon League, you get some big reward at the end that's worth it rather than a regular job you don't need because there's enough jobs in the game. Maybe a super rare weapon that's really good, or maybe a buff, or maybe, you know what I mean? Or something. Give me something. Anyway, overall, I like a Dragon Infinite Well. It's right in line with the previous Like a Dragon / Yakuza games. If you liked Yakuza Like a Dragon, you're definitely going to like this game. Just don't expect the plot to be as serious or as good as previous Yakuza games, because it isn't, because it kind of loses its focus because it's two people. Okay? Cool. That's my final thoughts on Like a Dragon Infinite Well. Okay, I have to blow my nose, so I paused the recording, everybody. I'm going to blow my nose and come back, and then I'm going to talk about Baldur's Gate 3. Ready? Here we go. Okay, so now it's time for me to give you my final thoughts after having played over 140 hours. In fact, again, let's just make this official. My playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3 is at 142 parts. Some parts were longer than an hour, some parts were a little shorter. So let's just say it was a 142-hour playthrough, okay? And during that playthrough, I did the vast majority of content that was available. Like, I tried to actively do all side quests that I found. Yes, there was a few that I skipped, but definitely not that many. I made an active effort to complete all major plot lines, including all the companion quests and things like that by the end of the game to get good resolutions for all of my party members. And, man, I'm sorry, I got a frog in my throat. I think my allergies are starting to act up finally. I think the season is here because I'm feeling it today. Anyway, I did a lot. I mean, obviously, a 142-hour playthrough. I put a lot of time and investment into this playthrough, correct? And originally, keep in mind, I didn't want to play the game. I knew, 100%, I knew that Baldur's Gate 3, alright, was going to be a playthrough that was going to take up so much of my time that it was going to be a hindrance. I do not, but whenever I played it, it was going to be that way. Like, I just felt it, right? because I had a big crowd of people demanding I play it. I did not play it when it was new in September of last year.